Okay, so let's just start with our feet. Let's start with our feet just inside shoulder width apart. And let's take a big breath in all the way up to the ceiling. I'm turning my palms up as I'm going up, and then turning my palms down and pushing down, almost like I'm pushing up through the water. Turning my palms up, rotating in the shoulders as I lift the arms up, looking up, turning the palms and coming back down again. So let's take the opposite breathing to what you would naturally do. So naturally you would breathe in and then you would breathe out. Let's do one more of those. Natural big breath in and a breath out to return and lower. So let's take a breath in with the arms at the bottom. So breath in there and then a breath out. And a breath in as you lower those arms and feel like you're almost pushing the top of the head up towards the ceiling. Breath out to go up. Completely counterintuitive, I think is the word. Quite a big word at the end of the week. Now I've forgotten which way I'm going. That was my breath in, that was the one. And then this is a breath out. Breath in, breath out. Let's add a little rise to this. Breath in as you lower those arms. Breath out. So it's almost like the top of the head and the feet are going in the opposite directions here. Trying to lengthen that spine. Let's take two more. Breath in and breath out. Last one. Breath in and breath out. Wonderful. One of the themes of today's class is thinking about our tissue box. The tissue box of your torso. So the four corners of your tissue box are your shoulders and your hips. So from this position, which is reasonably wide, we're just going to transfer over to one side and lift one leg into a knee fold. Put the foot down where it was and swap to the other side. So I can see in my monitor opposite me, if you've got a mirror that would be perfect, that there's no change in my torso. So when I lift the leg, I'm not hitching in my waist, I'm not rotating in that pelvis. I'm fully transferring my weight and taking my plumb line, my centre of gravity, my spine, completely from one side to the other. I'm also trying not to just bring that leg across to your midline. Whoops, there, now I'm using my balance. So trying to keep the knee opposite the hip. So everything is staying in the correct position. Great, let's stay on one side, keeping the leg lifted. We're going to take the arms up as we bring that leg down. So arms are going up and then you're lowering the arms as you swap to the other side and lift the leg. So this is your breath out, same as we just did, and this is your breath in. Breath out, breath in, shoulders staying down, the neck long. You've either got your arms or your leg up, not both at the same time. That's the breath out, and this is the breath in. As always with this unusual breathing, or the opposite breathing to what you naturally want to do, the moment you lose your concentration, start to think about something else, maybe lose your balance a little bit, think about the next exercise, which I do all the time, you'll just go back to, you'll revert back to normal breathing. Try not to. Let's make this the last one. Brilliant, let's bring the feet completely together now. Thinking about the plumb line down through the centre, thinking about the continued pristine tissue box. We're going to take one leg out to the side, and your toe can just be touching the floor if you want to, and then bringing that leg back in. Both legs are staying straight, so my centre of gravity doesn't have to travel very far this time, but it's still swapping from side to side. Now the hardest bit is not hitching, not shortening in the waist in order to get that leg out to the side, and compensating in the shoulders. So stay really in the centre, lift the rib cage off of the hips. That's a really important thing actually. Maybe just pop your hands around I'm digging my thumbs into my ribs just to remind me. Didn't do any of reaches up before this. That might have been a good thing to do. Okay, let's hold one leg out, and now we're going to take the opposite arm, the other side arm, out to the side as well, and we're aiming to draw a beautiful diagonal line across your body from the top fingers to the bottom toes, and then bringing the arm and the leg back at the same time. Your tissue box remains exactly the same. This is when, if you haven't got a mirror, it's quite difficult to just check exactly, because you think you're really beautifully aligned, but actually you'll probably be a little bit out. When I was testing my camera just now, I thought I was putting both arms up above my head, and I was all wonky over to one side. And because it's like a mirror image, I couldn't work out how to straighten myself out. Or it might have been that where I've been sitting at my computer most of the day, I was actually wonky. So that's another thing to think about. Good. I haven't really spoken about breathing, just even breathing here, swapping from side to side. Good. And last one, let's make that the last one. Perfect. Great. So then let's take some reaches up. Let's have the feet hip width apart. We're going to take reaches up into a little mini hip hinge. So that's why the feet are hip width apart, and I've just gone slightly on a diagonal for when we do the hip hinge. So reaching up just about 4 of these. Lift the rib cage off of the hips. And then hold both arms up. Actively try and touch the ceiling. Pitch your weight forwards a little bit so that you can tap both heels. Lower the arms. Spread your fingers and your thumbs far apart and span your hands across your torso. And then just stick your bottom out a little bit. So elbows are out to the side. Just heightening our awareness of the position of the body. So we're going to do a whole load of squats and lunges today. So 2 things that I want you to be very aware of. So we've got the tissue box that we already thought about. Now thinking about not changing the shape of your spine, but I mean the shape of your spine from the top of your head to your sacrum. So that also includes the neck. So maybe just pop your hand in the back of at the back of the neck, between your hairline and the top of your t-shirt if you're wearing one, and just notice when you come into this hip hinge and then come up again, that there's no change in your hands. So you don't feel like your fingers are getting squashed, which you will do if you leave your chin, if you leave your eyeline in the same place. It feels like my hand's getting crushed by the back of my neck. If you let your head drop too much, it will feel like you've got space to open up your fingers, which again, well, I don't want. So just keep it there in the same place. Watch that you don't come too low. It's only about 30 degrees. It's only that shut the doors, shut the drawer, stick your bottom out behind you. The weight is in your heels. Great, and then let's come up. So let's take that into some narrow squats. I'm going to stay where I am. So exactly the same width apart with the feet, which is what makes it narrow squats. So now, because we're bending the knees, bending the ankles, compressing much more, going deeper into that hip hinge, we're going lower. But pretty much the angle of the back, pretty much the same. Keeping my chin tucked in, keep that neck in the same place. Think about the shoulders. So if you imagine, come back to the tissue box, don't let the top 2 corners of your tissue box round forwards. Keep them pinned back, so you've got this lovely straight line from one side to the other. Then let's go a little bit wider. I'm going to face square again, just because it really helps me when I'm, especially when I'm doing squats, if I've either got a mirror or the monitor in front of me, to check for symmetry. So now I'm turning my legs out a little bit in the hip socket, toes are going out to the corners. When I bend my knees are going over my toes. The centre of my knees going between the second and the third toe. Sending that bottom back. Because my legs are wider, I can now drop my hips down a little bit more. I'm thinking about and noticing whether my weight is even on both feet. Again, if you've got a slight imbalance, you'll be more weighted in one foot than the other. leaning away. You would normally pull away from the injured side, if that's the hip or the knee. Brilliant. Okay, we're going to add on to that. Are we going to add on to that, or are we going to go into lunges next? Hold on a moment. Yes, wide squats and a knee fold. Yes, perfect. Okay, but actually no, I'm not going to do that because we've done some knee folds. Let's turn the legs out in the hip socket. So heels are on the same line, spine is really upright. We're bending those knees, the knees are going over the toes. This is very different, a very different feel, feels different in the legs. Try and increase your tolerance if you can to this movement. It's great for your hips. It's not going to hurt your knees or your ankles as long as you stay in good alignment. Ideally the chest stays upright. So you're still hinging at the hip, just sort of on a different plane, on a different relationship with gravity. The head stays over the hips, spine stays upright, staying down if you can, lifting one heel, pushing that heel down, lifting the other heel, pushing it down, and swapping sides again. So no change in the upper body, just alternating, lifting one and the other. Brilliant. Both heels up together and push down, and together and push down. Pinning those knees back, getting the legs nice and strong. And although this is uncomfortable right now, trust me, you will not be sore in your legs tomorrow. The legs have an amazing capacity for strength work. And come up to straighten, yes. Woo. Give those legs a bit of a shake. Okay, I'm going to turn sideways onto my yoga mat. I'm just going to put it slightly on a diagonal. Not too much on a diagonal. And we're going to take some backward lunges, alternating backward lunges. So I'm going to come a step forwards at the front of my mat. I'm going to put my hands on my hips to start with. So we're stepping all the way back, brushing that back knee to the mat if you can, and pushing forwards and swapping legs. So there, brush that back knee to the mat. So an alternative, if you don't feel able to be freestanding with that one, if you like, the easiest alternative is to stay where you are and do the same legs. So have the leg that's closest to the wall back, keeping the spine upright, fully straightening the legs in between. You're aiming for all the way down to the floor with that back knee, but if that doesn't happen, that's absolutely fine. When you want to swap sides, go to the other side. So if you can't get all the way down to the floor, make sure you're bending both knees equally. So what I see sometimes is that front leg bends too much and the upper back tips forward. Stay really upright. Hopefully, and you probably had a little break if you're doing the full version. I know my clients, hopefully you were still doing some of these, but I suspect not. So we'll just do a few more. And let's take the fingertips to the temples if you're doing this one. I like this position with the hands because it just keeps your back really upright. Pushing forwards as you come upright, push down through that front heel. Let's start to add a knee lift on the end. So you're stepping back, lifting the knee, placing down. Stepping back, lifting the knee, placing down. Stepping back, lifting the knee. So quite hard work. I was watching this video earlier. This is a class I taught in April, and I did exactly what I'm doing now. For some reason I started to lift the knee before I took it back, but actually not a bad thing to do because we're going to put all this work together towards the end. Let's do 4 more if you can. Lift the knee, swing it back, lift the knee and lower, lift the knee. 2 more sets. Keeping that tissue box square to your front. This is the nice thing about using a yoga mat. Great, okay. we've got another thing to do. I'm going to keep the yoga mat this way actually. Maybe not, maybe I'll square it up. But again, using the length of my yoga mat as my sort of measure, it helps. We're going to take a diagonal lunge out to the corner of the room, but the leg that stays in the middle of the mat is going to stay straight. So you're a nice wide step out. This knee is going to come slightly more forwards than normal over your ankle towards your toes, but that's absolutely fine. The main thing I want you to think about here, so alignment of the knee over the toes, absolutely, but also the tissue box of the torso remains the same. So out to the corner. That foot, the toes will point where you're going. The knees will go over the toes. So you've just opened out the leg in the hip socket without any change in the upper body, which is why this ballet plie in its extreme, and it is extreme, which is why that's good to do, because then you don't have any problem just going halfway, 45 degrees over to that corner. Doesn't affect anything else. So that's the point of that sort of thing. Let's add on to this if you can, going over to the side, and then you're going to lift the leg, lift the knee to come back. And I've sort of found myself in a natural turned out position, just so that I haven't got to keep twiddling my feet around. So I'm staying in just a natural turnout. Legs have turned out so that I can be hips facing forwards and legs, toes going out to the corners, I guess. And then I'm lifting, placing the foot down. Over and whoopsie, lift. So this is quite hard work. Bringing your centre of gravity all the way back so that you're in the same position that we were when we started. Taking those arms up and doing the weird breathing. Let's have 4 more of these. Over to the side, lift and lower to the side, and I'm now finding that I'm just naturally reaching the opposite arm forwards. Last one. Trying not to put the hand on the thigh, actually that's bad. Okay, brilliant. We're going to combine all of those. So we're going to take a wide squat with a knee fold. We're going to take a lunge backwards with a knee fold. We're going to take a diagonal lunge with a knee fold. And a hold on the end. All on the same leg, I might add. So I'm just going to move my mat forwards a little bit so that I can do the lunge backwards from this position. Great, okay, so wide leg position for the squat to start with. Slight turn out in the leg. So we're bending down. I'm going to lift this knee first. So I'm lifting that leg up, knee fold, transfer over. That same leg is going back now into your lunge. Drop the knee down if you can. Same leg is lifting forwards. We're going over to the diagonal. And actually I've taken my whole body over a little bit. That's absolutely fine. No twisting, I'm just on a bit more of a lean with that upper body. And then lift in. Let's take the fingertips to the temples and let's take a little rotation around, opposite elbow to knee before you put that foot down. Great, let's go. Wide leg squat, lift the other knee. Take it back and lift that knee. Take it out to the corner, take a little lean over, it's absolutely fine. And come back to the centre. So the further out you go, further you've got to come back. Legs, hips nice and square, turning that upper body as much as you can. Breathe, opposite elbow to knee. Here we go, let's do 4 more sets. So, squat and lift, and leg back, and lift. Think about that standing leg, and lift. Set yourself, fingertips to temples, turn and hold. 2, 3, 4. Place the foot down and squat and lift and back and lift out to the corner and lift. Set everything up really nicely and then turn. Just that upper body. 3, 2, 1. 2 more sets And with a bit of a rubbish one, there, and lift, and back. So hips, shoulders, tissue box, square. We're on a diagonal, but we're still square. We're lifted, fingertips to temples, turn, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Standing leg nice and straight. Last set, here we go. Place those feet down, make sure it's even. Make sure your squat is even. And lift the other knee all the way back. Harder to balance on this side, but also we're getting tired. I am anyway, how about you? So we're there, fingertips to temples, and then turning and holding. Glue your hips, your pelvis to the front and place that down. Good job. Okay, we are going to take some, just mobilising the spine a little bit. I'm going to stay feet quite wide. I'm going to stay on this diagonal corner, lifting the chest, looking up, sticking the butt out, relaxing the head over, excuse me, and then reversing all the way up. So it's a chest and a back lift. Remember, the focus is the shape of your spine. So it doesn't have to be quite as big as I'm doing it, could be much smaller. Let's reverse the movement. Lead with your head. So head goes down the front of your chest. Placing the hands on the legs again. Head leads to come back up. So it's like a great big body ripple. You lift the chest just at the end of the movement in order to go through again. 2 more of those. Again, it doesn't have to be as big as I'm doing it. And let's make that the last one. Great, let's have the feet nice and wide. Reaching up, all the way up. So see, just about 4 of these. Hold both arms up. Stay looking up, make sure your weight is pitched forwards on the balls of the feet, and then dropping one arm. Rib cage is lifted off the hips 3 times. We're going to go over to the side and the other side. And let's make this the 3rd one. All the way over, hold that there a moment. Bend the knees, relax in the middle, hand in the middle, nod your head. And then roll up in the middle, let those arms hang. Let's go over to the other side for 3, and 2, and 1. Bend the knees, roll down, relax, roll up in the middle. 1 more time each side, and 3, and 2, and 1. Bend the knees, relax down. This time straighten your legs. Bend your knees, straighten your legs, bend your knees, just soften the knees, stretching the backs of the legs, and then roll up. About 3 of those. Last one, over to the other side for your side bends. 3, 2, keep breathing, keep moving. 1, bend the knees, relax all the way down. And 3 times again, straighten the legs, soften the knees, straighten the legs, soften the knees, straighten the legs, soften the knees. Just checking my hips. Yeah, I just noticed on the wall actually that my pelvis was slightly tilted. Just needed to check that. I'm definitely a bit wonky today. Bend those knees, rolling up through the spine. This is the importance actually of having a mirror, a monitor in front of you, and a teacher preferably. In the old days, you know, when we used to be able to do classes in halls and bits and pieces. Although that's the beauty of Zoom, isn't it? Things like that. So, yes. Anyway, sorry, I'm digressing. Feet really nice and parallel. A little bit closer in, not slightly wider than hip width apart. We're going to take some rotation and just around the spine. This is quite a small movement to start with. We're going to repeat this movement on the floor. Elbows are out to the side, and I want you to just put your palms on your chest. Absolutely fix from your waist downwards. Fix it facing forwards, and then only rotate. And initially, actually, I'm going to keep my head facing forwards so that I can see what I'm up to. I can see whether I'm leaning And where I've got a very plain white wall behind me, sometimes I like to do this where I line my clients up with something that's on the wall, or I hold something up there, so that you can see whether you are tilting or leaning. So quite often we lean away, I'm exaggerating it a lot, but quite often we'll lean away, especially if the back is quite tight. So instead of it being a pure rotation around the spine, it turns into a little bit of a lean. Or you might find that you're just transferring your weight in your feet. So same thing. The reason I wanted your hands here, now take your head with you. So imagine your nose is attached to your fingertips. It's staying in the centre, so you can't turn the head independently on its own. It's going with you. Yes, I wanted your arms here, your hands here, so that you can't really move your arms around. Quite often we do this exercise with the arms out to the side, and there's a lot of give in the arms without having to move the shoulders. So that's why this is quite nice, and I quite like that, holding that position. So just a small movement, that's all you've got available to you if you keep everything else still. If you cheat and let your hips go, turn your head more, bend your elbows forwards and backwards, you'll go much further, but that's not what we're after. But now let's explore that actual rotation in a more mobilising way. So take your feet a little bit wider, and again I'm going to stay facing forwards. Now I'm looking to rotate the shoulders and the hips and the ankles, but I want to remain upright in my spine. And again, using the monitor, using a mirror helps with that. Keeping the head forwards. And then let's change direction. So it's only by opening up the shoulder and the hip and the ankle I can hide that arm behind me. There's the movement. Great. And then just let the arms hang. Keep the head facing forwards to start with. Same amount of rotation, but the arms will now thwack the body as you wrap them round from side to side. Good, and then finally, finishing off by looking behind you, just gives you that bit of extra tweak on the spine. So a great thing to do if you're about to play golf or any sport really, just keeping that mobilising going in your spine. Wonderful. Okay, so standing at the back end of your mat. In fact, I'm going to put my mat again at a slightly jaunty angle. So standing with the feet shoulder width apart, nice and parallel, taking that roll down, keeping the pelvis in neutral, letting the arms hang, soft knees, just shake your head, nod your head as you go down, make sure you're not holding any tension in the neck. Pitch the weight forwards onto the balls of the feet, maybe bend the knees a little bit. Pitch the weight forwards and rock back onto your heels a bit. Reach your fingertips only forwards, maybe take a little movement from side to side into one leg and then the other, and lengthen your fingertips more forwards. Think of the length in your spine. And breathe. And then let's just walk out onto those hands. Come all the way forwards to the front of your mat. Bring your hips down. So legs are straight. Your spine is in its natural curves. You're in a beautiful plank. The fronts of your shoulders are over those fingertips, and then lowering the knees with control. Wonderful. Let's come on to all fours. So a really good square all fours box position. We're going to take a really rounded back. So from this position here, knees underneath the hips, hands underneath the shoulders, you're going to draw the knee in, using your muscles. Tuck your pelvis under, rounding your back. I'm not thinking about lifting my upper back, but it will lift. I'm actually thinking about really trying to tuck the pelvis under and send the tailbone down. Drawing that knee in, and I'm trying to get my forehead, my nose on the knee at the same time. Then I'm going to extend that leg out so it's touching the floor. At this point is where I want you to think about your tissue box. Hands underneath the shoulders, hips over your knees, but your hips really nice and level. Then we're going to reach the opposite arm forwards and lift. From this point, we're going to draw that arm in, but I'm not actually hanging onto the leg, I'm not touching, I'm just drawing the arm in, brushing the floor to lift. Here we go, I'm going to do 5 on each leg. So from this position, drawing in, rounding the back. So this first time, just keep that hand down. See how close you can get that knee to your nose. Extend the leg, extend the arm. Be very aware, so still touching the floor, be very aware of the tissue box. And then we're lifting to the height of the body. Beautiful straight arm, straight leg. And now draw in for 4 more. And brush the floor, get your spine square and coming in. 3. Brush the floor, set everything up really well. And 2. I'm breathing out when I'm drawing everything in because I'm squeezing all of the air out. And extend, and maybe some little circles here. Circling the arm from the shoulder, the leg from the hip. Now change direction. It's the last thing. Woo. And coming back in without collapsing too much. Just notice how much adjustment you needed to come back, and then onto your elbows. Just have a little sway from side to side. Pay some attention to those wrists, especially that one that took all the strain there. Twiddle your fingers, roll the wrists around, not the ankles, that's the other end of the body. Brilliant, let's try all of that on the other side. So hands are underneath your shoulders, knees are underneath your hips. Extend the leg away and then draw the leg in, draw the knee in, really tuck under in that lower back. Use your muscles, hold it there a moment. You might have been joining in with me on that other side, so that we needed to do maybe 6 on this side. Draw in, then extend away. Think of tissue box, shoulders, hips, absolutely parallel to your mat, parallel to the floor. Reach the opposite arm away. Watch this shoulder doesn't overreach. Now lift to the height of the body. Here we go for 5 more. Rolling in, round the back, draw your belly button in really tight. Bring that knee in, square everything up, then lift. Try not to go straight out. Brush the floor. Brush the floor just on the way out, really. You don't need to do it on the way back in. So think about resetting the shape of your spine. Here we go. In, breathing out, as much as you can. Brush the floor, think about that shape of that body, and then it stays absolutely still. Last one, I do believe. Rounding in, and extend, and lift, and circling. Whoo, whole arm from the shoulder, whole leg from the hip. Change direction. The second shape might not resemble anything like a circle, don't worry. Just do what you can. That's your brain trying to work out how to go in the unnatural second direction. Touching the floor to come back in. Just check your reset. Was it huge or was it quite subtle? Hopefully it was quite subtle. Hips back on the heels. And again, twiddling those fingertips. Good work. We're going to take some press-ups from here. So the easiest version of press-ups to start with. Hands are nice and wide. fingertips facing in a little bit, knees are underneath your hips, and we're going elbows out to the side. So my tip of my nose is touching the floor, but really the only thing that's changing in the shape of my body is this hinge at the hips. Nothing else is changing. Remember the back of the head and neck. If you end up with your chin nearly on the floor, then you've definitely squashed your hand if it was at the back of your neck. You're here, that's really bad. Keep that chin tucked in, keep the neck lengthened. My nose is touching the floor because it's quite big. Aim for your forehead. Keep the back of the neck long. Keep those legs relaxed. Sometimes I see this. That's because the legs, you're holding tension in your legs. Legs completely relaxed. Your tension is in your torso here. Arms going out to the sides, elbows going out to the side. This will work your chest a little bit more. I also find it personally quite comfortable on the wrists. Brilliant. Let's do another 5, between 5 and 10. I'm going to leave it up to you today. You could stay here, or you could take those knees back a little bit more and drop the hips forwards. You could pick the feet up so that you're on the ends of your thighs, not your kneecaps. Hips are forwards. Please don't do this. This is a half and half. Feet up, I'm on my kneecaps and my butt sticking up in the air. And look where my shoulders are in relationship to my hands. Oh no, we want the shoulders over those hands. Your body is in a straight line. Again, the only thing that changes is the arms bending. None of the other shapes change. No leading back up with your bottom. Enjoy this work. Strong on the upper body. We're about to do some strong lower body booty work. So, with that in mind, let's have another 5. Here we go. And breath out. 3, 2, and 1, and... Ooh, good job. Okay, nice. Coming down onto your elbows and your knees for our butt work today. I think I might just turn a little bit more sideways to the screen, just so that I can see, apart from the neck being a bit uncomfortable. Because what I want you to do is make sure that you are nice and square with your tissue box. Thinking about the tissue box again. So knees are underneath the hips, elbows underneath your shoulders, that's the right one. The neck is in line, everything you should hopefully be relatively comfortable here. We're going to take one leg away, probably the leg closest to the camera will be easiest, and then you can see what's going on. And yeah, it's a good idea for me to wear these jogging bottoms today, because I've got a lovely parallel stripe, or that stripe that is now parallel to the floor. As I look down as well, I can see that my hips are level. Generally, when we lift when we lift one leg up, the hips tend to twist a little bit. So I want the hips really level, and I don't want any turn out. So I can keep my hips still, but I want to turn my leg out in my hip socket. I want that leg to be really parallel, and then the sole of the foot, the heel, pushing up towards the ceiling. I'm just going to reset myself, equally weighted on both knees. In fact, bring your feet and your knees together. And then I'm going to set that leg back again. Good, so I know that everything is in the right place. This again is another principle we're going to use in a little bit. I'm just going to push the heel up towards the ceiling, switching that buttock muscle on. Buttocks muscles, a couple of them. Big buttock muscles. I'm not allowing this move, hold on, I'm not allowing that to happen. That's me not using my buttocks at all. That's me tilting my pelvis, moving my lower back. I really don't want that. I want you to be absolutely solid in the centre, in your pelvis, in your spine, so that you have to use these great big muscles here in order to lift that leg up. It should be quite strong. I'm already starting to quiver a little bit. Few more if you can. Keep that head just relaxed down. Can get a little bit necky. Make sure your hips stay level. Try not to let that knee drop low. Keep it up high. It goes from parallel to the floor up a little bit. It doesn't go any lower. Okay, we're going to add on to this movement. I'm going to draw this knee in. And I'm going to try and just let that kneecap brush past my other knee. It's making contact with the mat, but again, I'm not compensating by lifting my hip up or rounding that lower back. I'm maintaining my neutral pelvis. So effectively, I'm just increasing the hip hinge here. Really drawing that leg in, the thigh in. It's similar to what we just did on all fours. Extending the leg out and flexing the foot. In fact, I'm not going to slide it along the floor. I'm going to draw it in, pointing the foot, and straight out, flexing the foot, like I'm trying to push through that wall behind me. In and push out. Really pulling those toes back, straightening the leg. Keeping everything nice and parallel. Trying not to lean on that other side, on your supporting side. Try not to lean. That's why we brought the knees together, so that you're in your centre. Spine stays strong and still. Woo. Okay, I'm going to keep that leg out straight. I'm going to point the foot this time. And I'm not going to keep it flexed actually. I'm going to lower the leg to the floor. I'm going to lift it straight up. Lower to the floor, lift it up. Lower to the floor. Again, it's not here. Keep that torso still. Keep your pelvis absolutely locked in place, in a neutral. I'm really feeling this in the buttocks and the hamstrings a bit. Good, last one. Now I am going to point my foot. I'm going to draw a semicircle, crossing the leg over, going to the outside corner of my yoga mat, lifting it up and taking it to the other outside corner. The height of the semicircle is my hips, if that makes sense. That's the middle of the semicircle. Try and draw a semicircle as opposed to a triangle. So don't just come up and then out. You'll be tempted to lean. Draw the semicircle. And actually, I've just realised it feels quite nice to turn the leg in and turn it out, but absolutely keep this hip still. That's quite a challenge. 5 more if you can. 4. My other leg, my supporting leg, is now really quite uncomfortable. Last 2. Last 1. And come back. Just go big toes together, knees nice and wide. Come back, hips on your heels. And just for now, take a sway from side to side. Well done. I'm going to swap round to the other side. Again, just so that I can use my monitor as a bit of a mirror. Okay, all of that on the second side. This is going to feel harder because this side is already worn out from supporting the first side, from doing the stabilising job on the first side. So, elbows underneath your shoulders, that's the word I was looking for. Knees underneath your hips, knees together, feet and knees together. Take that leg away, lift it up. Not happy with that angle there. I'll try to make it a bit more of a diagonal. Okay, that's better. But I can feel that I want to turn this leg out more, so I'm going to drop that leg in, drop that knee in. Check hips. This is my not so good side. That looks a little bit better. I'm going to let my head hang down. Then I'm just going to bring my knee back. So I was leaning away, which is what you'll do. And again, when you're tired, more tired on your second side, your technique is going to be worse. So really make sure you're working it with good technique. Taking that leg away, no leaning, no turn out, no change in the hips, and I'm good to go. And now I'm just pushing up. And everything is shaking already. So you might find after these exercises, because I haven't done these, like I say, I haven't really done this class since April. I think April, May time I was doing these booty exercises a few times. But I haven't done them for a little while, so I'm really feeling it myself. You might feel some fatigue. Wouldn't that be nice? It's quite, you have to really work hard to get those legs to be very sore. They're actually much stronger than we think. So when everything really starts to shake a lot, it's not really worth continuing too much because your technique will go out of the window, and it's basically a sign that haven't got much endurance in the muscles that you're trying to use. So other muscles will start to join in to help you just get the work done. So it's probably time to move on, which I'm going to do now. So I'm going to draw that knee in, really making sure I'm not tucking under in that lower back. I can see it just wanting to go a little bit. So finding that biting point for my hip flexors at the front. Extending that leg out, nice and straight, flexing the foot, making sure it's parallel. Drawing in and extending, pushing away, drawing in. I feel like I'm using my buttock to push something away with that foot as I'm extending that leg. Creating a resistance. And actually, I think I am going to feel this. Pushing away. I can really feel my buttock muscles firing up, which I'm quite pleased about because quite often it's difficult to feel. I know they're working. Okay, keeping that back leg straight, lowering the toes to the floor and lifting up. Maintaining that neutral pelvis, no change in the shape in your lower back. Locking out the knee, pushing the back of the knee up towards the ceiling, keeping the foot flexed. Head and neck relaxed. Brilliant. Pointing that foot, crossing over. Go as far as you can. You'll feel those inside thighs switching on, not too far out to the open side. That will encourage you to lean. Cross over as far as you can on the crossed side. Be very aware that your hips are staying still. Try and add, if you can, the turning in here. Oh, I'm tempted to do a curly foot there, but I won't. And the turning out, but keep that hip still. Can't hold on to that. So just targeting slightly different muscles. can't do the turning in and turning out without your hips going all over the place, just keep it nice and parallel. Let's have 5 more. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and brilliant. Okay, well done. Coming onto your back. 4. Let's open up. I'm going to stretch those hips out at the end and buttocks out at the end. And let's do some bridges first of all, stretching out the hip flexors at the front. That was getting quite grippy as we were doing that work, followed by some abdominals with some hamstring stretches, and then we'll finish off, oh, I've got a couple more things to do. We'll finish off stretching out the hips. Okay, so on to your backs in your base position for some straight bridges. Now hopefully these should feel really good now. From your wonderful base position, so your spine is in neutral, feet and knees hip width apart. Think about the shapes of your spine, get those feet nice and close to your butt, and then as you push down through your feet, you've already fired up your buttocks. So that hopefully is going to help you lift your hips up nice and high so that you can open out the front of the hips. All the way up to the top. Let's take a breath in when we're up there, and let's take a reverse peel down. So straight up, all the way up. Think about the weight on the feet, nice and even. See if you can get those hips up a little bit higher. Let's reach the arms up and over. Don't rest them on the floor, just lengthen them away, and then reverse peel down through the spine, bringing the arms back over. 2 more of those, up to the top. Open up those hips, taking the arms up and over. Breath in and a breath out. Coming down through the spine. Breath in to release, last one. Up to the top, breath out. Check the rib cage is connected down, connected to your hips. Arms are up and over. And breathe out as you come back down. Lengthen the spine away and bringing the arms up and over. Wonderful. Okay, our abdominal section tonight, quite strong. We have got reverse leg extension into reverse curl, followed by double leg lowers, followed by advanced scissors. Woo, looks like this. So hands are in a low V. There's the leg extension. Then you're going to bend your knees in, pushing down on your hands. Hands are flat on the floor. You can see that in that one, I think you can. And then we're taking that momentum, which we don't normally have, to take the legs overhead and then roll back down with control. Bending the knees slightly, extending them away, 45 degrees if you can. Bend the knees in, push down and rolling over. And bend. And there. And in and roll. So an alternative to this, if this is too much for you, you could just be here, crossing the ankles over, drawing the knees in quite far. In fact, cross the ankles over, but take your feet up towards the ceiling. Again, using the arms to push down on. Try and take the feet up towards the ceiling. So you're peeling that lower back off and then controlling it back down. So sometimes when you first start this, you see this sort of, you can lift up, but you collapse back down again straight away. So that's the movement, and it's tough. You could cheat a little bit by maybe swinging the legs, but generally, if you're just swinging the legs, you're using the momentum of the legs to get the job done. But it might just help you just get into that position in the first place. If you can, let's try 5 more of the full version. Up and over, almost into a rollover. Is it rollover position? Forgotten the name of the actual Pilates exercise. 3 more. One more if you can. Okay, taking some double leg lowers. So hands at the back of the head. This could be done with bent legs. I'm going to do it with straight legs up towards the ceiling. Clearing your shoulder blades if you can. The idea here is to be in a neutral pelvis. It's double leg lowers. You're lowering the legs away towards the floor and lifting back up again without any change here. So this is quite difficult because you've got your, I said clearing your shoulder blades actually, I've got my shoulder blades still in contact, but just come up and make sure your head is supported. With the long lever of your straight legs, it's much harder than if you had your legs bent and maybe your feet just drop down and you're just opening up, you're just taking the thighs away. You don't have to go, even if you're doing this one, you don't have to go all the way to the floor. You're just going as far as you can control and maintain your natural curve in your lower back, basically your neutral pelvis. So if you can, straight legs, it's tough, it's strong. Keep that tummy scooped. Try not to let it bulge. Double leg lowers, and we've just got this bit of ballast on the upper body. Couple more. Brilliant. Okay. Advanced scissors with a hamstring stretch. So this is my legs at 90 degrees. I'm going to lower one leg towards the floor, and I must be careful not to bring this knee in too far. I want this leg in too far. I want this leg to stop at 90 degrees. This one, the lower one, is hovering off the floor. I'm going to switch the legs. 3, and I'm actually sort of blocking this leg from coming in too far. 3, because I want it to stop at 90 degrees. 2, 1. Now I'm going to hang on to that leg. I'm going to flex both feet. I'm going to lift either my head and shoulders up a little bit, or ideally what I'd like to do is ease that leg in towards your body for a strong old hamstring stretch. Now I've gone way past 90 degrees. I want to reset at 90 degrees. Keeping the upper body rounded, scooped in the tummy, hanging onto the leg a little bit for dear life. Upper body is rounded so that your head is over your shoulders as well. Here we go, switch. 3, 2, 1, 90 degrees, flex both feet. Ooh, pull that top leg in. This is my tightest side for my hamstrings. And breathe. 4 more sets. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Flex and pull in. And 3, 2, 1. Flex both feet and pull in. And 3, 2, 1. Flex both feet and pull in. Last set, I think. 3, 2, 1. That wasn't too painful, was it? Flex and pull in. And just let that head roll from side to side. Ooh. Brilliant. Okay, where are we? Just past the time. Okay, I wanted to do one more side lying exercise, but I'm going to pass on that one today. I think it would be a nice idea to do some hip stretching. So let's come to sit up. Yeah, and into this position. So it's sometimes called a Z sit. In dance we used to call it on the walk. So you've got this leg across at a right angle and a right angle to the other leg, which is down the side. In relationship to my mat, that's on the short end and this is on the long edge. And then ideally, just lift and lower this hip a little bit. So I'm not the most flexible of people, I'm reasonably flexible, but we're all having to work at our flexibility at different stages. Ideally, both sit bones should be equally weighted on the floor here. So you'll find that this side where the foot is behind you, will be probably more lifted. So just see if you can just lift and lower that and ease into it a little bit. And then we're just going to pitch forwards. In fact, I'm going to turn sideways. So So stay where you are and stay in the same position with your legs. But I just want you to try and pitch forwards, but keep your hips and shoulders square and keep trying to keep this side down a little bit. So the stretch is on the front foot, that side, on that hip. Then I'm going to bring this foot into my groin more, and I'm going to take my weight forwards onto my hands and straighten out this leg behind me. So now it really is quite strong on that outside hip of the front leg. If you're not feeling this much at all and you've got really good turnout or your hips are really flexible, bring this foot more forwards, but try not to rest back on it here like I am now. Be over that leg. And then if you can, come down onto your elbows. And breathe. And just move about within it a little bit. And then maybe elbows out to the side, forehead on the backs of your hands, moving around within it. Wonderful. Coming all the way up, swapping over. So I'm going to be here. So sorry, if you were here. So you're basically bringing that leg round from the back, bringing it in front, swapping the legs over that way. And just noticing for yourself, so this is, yeah, this hip is probably lifted about the same actually. So I'm lifting and lowering in here, trying to get this sit bone closer to the floor. Just rolling over. So this feels okay for the moment. It's not really an issue. Then you want to be really nice and square and try and pitch forwards with a flat back. So again, I'm going to turn around to the side. So both legs are still bent at the moment, pitching forwards with a flat back. So what I mean by that is try not to be here. Try and reach all the way forwards. Great, I'm going to bring that front foot closer into my groin, take the weight on my hands and then slide the other leg back. Keep the weight on your hands initially, just check it out, see how it feels. Bringing that foot forwards if you need to will really quite strongly increase the stretch. Come down onto your elbows if you can. Stretching the elbows out to the side, taking the elbows out to the side, taking your forehead onto your hands. Moving, breathing, and then bringing that leg round. And finishing there. Well done. Thank you so much for joining me. That was quite a strong one today on the legs. Hopefully you will feel a little bit of like you've had a good workout today, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you.